Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you to add some positive value to your life. I want to talk today about emotional healing, and I have three important, powerful, effective tools that you can apply in your life if you are dealing with things like insomnia, if you are dealing with perfectionism, with procrastination, with self-sabotage, if you are isolating, if you are having difficulty sustaining friendships. Heaven knows we've been through a rocky road over the last few years, and many people are telling me that they are dealing with all of these things. And I want to share a story with you about a client who became a friend of mine. And she came to me because she was having difficulty sleeping. She found it difficult to fall asleep at night. And then even when she did, she would wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and just have a very difficult time going back to sleep. So I approached it from a natural, holistic lifestyle perspective. And I shared with her my tips in terms of how to get a good night's sleep, like getting off the caffeine, don't drink alcohol, don't eat any spicy foods, get off all of your electronics an hour or two before bed, don't have a computer in your bedroom, don't keep your cell phone next to you, make sure that your bed is comfortable and that the room is dark and that it's cool and you've taken a bath before bed and some Epsom salt, and maybe you had a cup of chamomile tea or some lavender tea, and you're not engaged in reading any kind of exciting book before you go to bed. So I gave her all of my litany of ideas and tips for getting a good night's sleep. If that is something that you're interested in, I do have several videos about that on this channel. But the bigger point is that this client was still having difficulty because she had some unresolved emotional wounds from childhood. Now, let me just say from the get-go that there are those among us that do have these childhood wounds that we have put behind us. We don't dwell on it. We move ahead. It's gone. We don't want to think about it. In fact, it's very traumatic and painful to do so. So we just blot that out. And that is fine and well if you are not expressing things in your life that could be tied to those childhood wounds. For example, if you constantly procrastinate, constantly complain, if you isolate yourself from people, if you engage in self-sabotaging behavior, if you are gripped by anxiety or depression, if you find it difficult to make a decision, if you constantly berate yourself or second guess yourself, or after some type of social interaction, you're playing that over in your head again and again and again, if you find it difficult to make friends or to be social. Did I mention procrastination, being late, overeating, overdrinking, overworking? All of these could be signs that there are some areas of fear, of resentment, of anxiety, of dread, of guilt, of remorse, of shame over some past things in your childhood. Now, we don't need to dredge all that up. Don't worry. But I do want to give you three very powerful techniques that can help you clear through some of this emotional clutter so that you can be free and you can move ahead and leave a lot of those self-defeating behaviors behind. I guess they could all go into that bucket with the title on it, self-defeating behaviors. Now, I am guilty of a lot of those. I used to be constantly running late until I realized that that was tied to some unresolved frustrations that I had as a child that I have worked through and I have released. I am not a fan of staying stuck in your emotions. And I also want to say that it's a good idea if you have somebody who can walk alongside you as you are releasing these emotions. So perhaps you need a professional, somebody who's trained to be a compassionate listener. That's something that I'm trained in as a lay counselor. And it's what I've done for, oh my gosh, the last 20 years or so as a wellness coach. And I have found that over the last few years of this very rocky, treacherous, oppressive time that we've had, many, many, many people are finding that some of these old wounds are surfacing. It's almost like you have a wound that you never cleaned out and it got infected and it's really bothering you and it's coming out in these self-defeating behaviors, right? In my example, running late. I mean, that's just so unprofessional. It caused so much anxiety in my life. I left other people hanging. I was ashamed of that behavior. And the thing is, friends, nothing that I did would fix it. I tried the time management. I put reminders on my phone. I told myself that I was going to leave 10 minutes earlier than planned, but I would somehow still be running late, running on adrenaline. Let me know if that's something that you've ever struggled with. And it wasn't until I did some deep digging and I realized that I had some unresolved frustrations, a little bit of resentment and anger over certain things in my life, that trying to control my time was as if I was trying to control the world, other people, myself, and it just was actually backfiring. So let me give you the 3 simple tips. And they're simple in that anybody can do them and it does not take a lot of time, but they are very profound. So I just wanted to give you that example of my friend who had been dealing with insomnia. And as it turned out, the reason why she couldn't get a good night's sleep is because when she was a child, often in the early hours of the day, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, she had instances where she with her mom and her sisters would be huddling in a closet, afraid for their lives because of the abusive dad that would come home drunk and beat up the mom or beat up the kids. So this is something that was deeply embedded in her that she had to be on high alert in these early hours of the morning. Of course she couldn't sleep. And when this surfaced at a certain point, as I was working with her, she said, "Oh, I've been through all that. I've gone through the counseling. I've had the therapy. I really don't want to go back and talk about that." And it dawned on me that this is likely what was holding her back from being able to get a good night's sleep. So the 3 techniques are these, very simple. And you're going to write about it, you're going to talk about it, and you're going to act it out. I think that's the way I can describe it. Let's just break those down one at a time. So write it out. This is something that no one is going to read. You should throw it away. In fact, you should burn it. You should tear it up in little tiny pieces of paper, flush it down the toilet, throw it out with the cat litter, make sure that you actually destroy it and let it go. But on a piece of paper, and I recommend doing this, you could do this daily, you could do it twice a day, you could do it once a week, whatever you feel that you need to do to get this off your chest. And you just start out by saying, "I am so angry that," and you fill in the blank. And you could use other phrases that have to do with that heated intensity. "I'm indignant. I am so irritated by this. This really burns me. I can't stand that, this. So it's that active kind of red hot emotion that is usually one of the first emotions we feel when there has been an injustice. So you write that out and you just get it out. You could use any words that you want. You can write it illegibly. There doesn't have to be any test about spelling or grammar or punctuation or sentence structure. It literally is writing it out. This is so important and so powerful because you've got to express it in a safe manner, and you may shed some tears with this, and that's okay. You might even find that you're going to the next level where you can write out, "I am so sad. I am so sad that this happened to me. I am heartbroken. I am despairing. This makes me, this drives me to tears. My heart is broken." And you can write out all that. Now, you don't have to do it all in one day, but these are some of the emotions that you can get to, and you literally are cleaning out the wound so that it can heal. And then you might find that you're getting to the point where you are writing out some of your regrets. "I wish I had stood up for myself. I regret that I didn't do this or that. I wish this had never happened to me. I would like to go back and change this." By the way, I did a video called "How to Change Your Past." So that has to do with your outlook in terms of what happened or didn't happen in your life. So I highly recommend that. And then you might find, usually those are the main categories. You've got anger and everything that goes along with that, bitterness, resentment, frustration. And then you've got sadness and despair and heartbreak and anguish, depression, sorrow. It's all valid. And then you've got the regret and maybe even guilt, the shame, the remorse. And it's valid and it's good to express this. Now, you don't have to do more than 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes. I don't want you to get into the river of pain. That's not the point of this. It's basically like getting rid of that little sliver that's in your finger that is getting infected, and you just need to go enough to get rid of it. And you'll know, because you'll go after you're done writing, and then you want to tear it up, or you want to burn it, or you want to have little tiny pieces of paper and throw it away. So that's the first step. And these don't have to be in order. Let me make that clear. You can mix them up, but I know that there are 3 important actions to do, and that's one of them. Now, another one is to talk it out. So you write it out and then you talk it out. Friends, you don't even have to say it to anybody. If anybody watches me driving in a car, they're going to think something strange, because I do a lot of talking in the car. I will talk to people. I will talk to people that I'm angry with. I will say things to them that I wish I had said to them face to face. I will apologize to people that I have hurt, and I will accept their apology. And I'll have a conversation with them saying, thank you for apologizing to me for the way that you treated me. And I've done this with my court case as well. So I find this extremely powerful, to verbally have these words come out of your mouth. It's not enough to think it. When you think it, it gets kind of closed in. It's like having all of the laundry, in the hamper, and you never take it out. You never clean it, and it starts to smell. So when you're speaking the words, it is so powerful to verbalize them. You may have a caring friend that wants to listen, but I would say that sometimes people who are close to us, our friends, our family, they want us to feel better, and they're really not the person to listen to our sorrows and our anger. And sometimes it's too much for them. It's overwhelming. And we may want to say things that we don't want other people to know. So doing it in a car, in a private place, or again, if you do have the ability to go to a caring professional who's going to listen to you. I remember going through some grief a few years ago, and I had someone that I was receiving counseling from on Zoom. And I actually kind of liked that, because I didn't have to drive anywhere. And I think she was in a completely different state. And it was so freeing that I could just cry and sob and be myself. And this was a caring person that just listened. She didn't even need to fix anything. And boy, did that feel great to get it off my chest. So speak the words, speak the anger, speak the sorrow, speak the regret, the remorse. I'm telling you, you are going to feel so much better. It's like taking out the trash. So we've got the write it out, we've got the speak it out, and then we've got the act it out. So if you are angry, you want to go what I call it emotional exercise. You want to go on a really fast brisk walk, go for a bike ride. If you can hit some tennis balls against the wall, that's fantastic. Maybe you just want to punch some pillows, throw some pillows. Oh my gosh, at the beginning of all the hogwash, I was throwing pillows all over the living room. Luckily, nothing broke, but it was a way for me to get out my frustration and anger, my indignation. I mean, I was just stunned by what was going on. So I did a lot of acting out. And again, you do this in a safe place where nothing can be hurt. You can't be hurt. No one else can be hurt. But when we stuff it down, that's when somebody gets hurt, because you've been holding it down for so long. And before you know it, one little thing sets you off. And then you've got this targeted anger towards somebody who doesn't deserve it. Trust me, friends, as a personality here on YouTube, especially on my other channel, I am the victim of a lot of naysayers, and I prefer the yay-sayers who are positive and encouraging and have a can-do outlook. But there are a lot of people that will use me as a target for their frustration, their anger, their sorrow, their indignation. And sometimes when I've actually emailed people when they sent me their nasty grams. I normally don't engage, but once in a while I feel like I could actually help them. So I would reply pointing out a couple of things, and very often they would reply back and say, thank you so much. I was just flying off the handle. I didn't mean to say these things. You're absolutely right. So that's an example of making sure that you act it out and you speak it out and you write it out in a safe, appropriate manner. And I am telling you, friends, this has been a simple practice that is at the root of my healing. Now, I am not perfect. I still run late from time to time, but if you ask my family, I have done basically a 180, and it had nothing to do with time management or keeping a calendar or setting an alarm. It had to do with my healing of certain incidents and things in my life where I finally was able to break free. It may not happen for you on the first outing. It may be that this takes place over a period of days or weeks or even months. It doesn't matter, friends. There is no time limit on your emotional healing. I would like to hear from you. Do you engage in any of these practices? This is a little bit different than journaling in my view. I like to journal where I'm keeping a record so I can go back and read it later and remember what we did on certain holidays or birthdays or where we traveled, where we might have gone out to eat or who came to visit. And I'd like to have a record of that so I can go back and remember. And it's enjoyable for me. I journal ideas for my videos and so forth. And those things I want to keep. I want to go back and read them again. So this is more of a cleansing exercise, a clearing exercise. You may find perhaps that there are some insights as you're writing it out that you want to keep. So maybe you just want to snap a little photo with your phone and still tear it up and throw it away. The tearing it up and throwing it away is a symbol that you are done with it, that it's behind you, and that you are moving ahead. And then the speaking it out, again, you can do that just with you in the car, nobody else has to hear. And then the acting it out in a physical manner to get rid of that adrenaline. And I remember doing a talk about this with a group a few years ago before all of this hogwash started. And I remember one of the participants saying, "You mean it's okay to cry?" And that nearly broke my heart. And I said, yes, it's appropriate to cry when you're sad, when you're sorrowing, when you are experiencing heartbreak. Absolutely, that is the expression. That is how you act out sorrow and sadness, is through tears. It might be sobbing. It might be staying in bed with your the covers pulled over your head. So you have the right to express these emotions, my friends. And this is a very powerful practice. I would like to hear from you what you have done in this realm. And then next week, I want to talk about physical techniques for physical healing. And sleep is going to be one of them. There are a couple of things that are really the base for everything that we do in our life. Making one powerful change can have a sort of a ripple effect in other areas of your life. So thank you so much for being on board with me, friends. Always great to have you here. And I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming video. And remember, I do broadcast at the Healthy American, Peggy Hall, every afternoon with a live stream. So I hope that I'll catch you there as well. Thanks for being on board.